Well, as if it wasn't hard enough to get a leg up on this platform, YouTube just kicked us in the teeth again. Guys, apparently YouTube has changed things up, and now views won't be recognized by the algorithm anymore unless they come with engagement. So likes, comments, subscribing, super thanks, basically the YouTube things I mention at the end of every video. From now on, if you don't do at least one of those things, then I guess the algorithm doesn't count it, or it counts less, and it's just gonna lead to a lot of videos getting buried. I've always been pretty laid back about this stuff, but now I really need your support. Hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, it's a few seconds out of your life, but it really helps out, and a lot of channels like mine are gonna need the help, or else this could just stop us dead in our tracks. That's all I've got to say. Thank you so much for watching, and now, let's get to the video. It's safe to say that 2025 hasn't been a banner year for the MCU. It started with Brave New World showing us what a mess this franchise has devolved into in the few short years since Avengers Endgame. Then came Thunderbolts, or New Avengers, or whichever title Marvel ended up landing on, which showed us that the MCU's bar for quality has officially been lowered enough for something that's just good to fool the fans into thinking it's great, though not many of them as it turns out. And if that wasn't concerning enough, just recently we were all subjected to Ironheart, a show so embarrassingly awful that the title character selling her soul to the devil and being condemned to hell felt like a happy ending. Frankly, if it weren't for Daredevil Born Again, I'd be urging Kevin Feige to play the tax write-off card on this whole godforsaken year. So the MCU didn't exactly have a ton of momentum by the time Fantastic Four First Steps came around, and the rollout of the film didn't help it either. Awkward, underwhelming trailers, bizarre casting decisions, disastrous test screenings, last-minute rewrites and reshoots, actors saying the wrong things in interviews. Also, this happened. I myself haven't been shy about saying that any faith I might have had in this movie was dwindling fast. Coming up to the release, I didn't know what to think anymore and was getting ready to add First Steps to the increasingly long list of reasons why the Fantastic Four just can't get a good movie to save their damn lives unless they're animated and directed by Brad Bird. But First Steps surprised me. Now before I get to the movie, I want to talk about the rollout of it. Trust me, this is apropos. Marvel, whoever cut the trailers for you, fire them. Do not use them again. You didn't do yourselves any favors with the marketing campaign, but the trailers shot this movie in the foot over and over. And why, you ask? It's pretty simple, actually. They used the wrong clips, and they used bad takes of those clips. What were some of the talking points from those early trailers? Why are they spending so much time on this awkward kitchen scene? The "you're late" scene is cringy and weird. It doesn't look like there's any chemistry between these people at all. Some of the effects aren't finished. The thing's voice doesn't sound right. And so on, and so on. Now, the trailer doesn't account for all these issues. Thing's voice still doesn't sound right in the movie, but it does account for a lot of them. I couldn't tell you why or how this happened, but there are a lot of scenes in the movie that come off much differently than they do in the trailers. The kitchen scene, the "you're late" scene, awkward and cringy in the trailer, but in the movie, they're fine. And why is that? Because the editing is different, but more importantly, they use different takes, better takes, takes where the actors have their timing down and they do show chemistry with each other, where they do feel like a real family. None of that came across in the trailers. And I'm not just talking about those scenes, there's more of them than you'd think. So what happened here? Was the trailer editor using rehearsal footage or something? I don't know, but the trailers really did the film a disservice, and not just because of this, because they were also cut in such a way that made Reed look weak and useless, made Sue look like the real hero, and blah blah blah.
Are we safe? I don't know.
And unfortunately, it didn't click for Marvel how that stuff would be perceived, so pretty quickly they lost control of the narrative, which led to people on platforms like this one steering the conversation in a different direction. Then, the next thing you know, there's all these rumors and speculation that Reed is gonna be some useless lab monkey cuck, and the whole movie is about Sue being a girl boss and saving the day all by herself, and Sue is the center of everything, Sue is the real leader of the Fantastic Four, and Reed, Johnny, and Ben are just their for show. If you were paying attention to the rollout of this movie, you've heard these rumors, and a lot more like them. Having seen the movie now, I can tell you it's not like that. But for months and months and months, the fandom was gaslighting itself into a frenzy over this shit, and people believed it because, one, it does kind of sound like something current Marvel would think is great. Two, hating on Marvel is really popular right now because they often do think that way. And three, frankly, because rage videos get more clicks than the other kind. There are channels I watch all the time, channels I trust, that were throwing gas on this fire. I know how easy it is to get sucked into all that. I fell for it too. I was expecting First Steps to be a mess the same way Brave New World was. And how'd it turn out? Well, the filmmakers made a lot of unusual choices. Setting the story on a different Earth out in the multiverse was weird. The suits still looked kind of lame. Gender swapping the Silver Surfer was idiotic. Thing's voice, and so on and so on. But overall, this is easily the best, most polished film Marvel has put out this year. Low bar? Yeah, maybe. I ended up liking Thunderbolts, but come on, you guys know me. If the movie sucked, I would tell you. It doesn't. In fact, I think this is their best movie since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, unless you count Deadpool and Wolverine, which isn't really MCU. Surprising? Not what I expected? Definitely. That's what happens when you botch the advertising and put out shitty trailers. But whatever creative gestalt was responsible for the final product here, somehow it worked. Let's start with the cast. It's better than you're probably thinking, and I know what you were thinking because I was thinking it too until I saw this thing. Sue is not a girl boss. She doesn't take over the movie. She's what Sue is supposed to be, the matriarch of the team. And yeah, sometimes that puts her in a leadership position, but her and Reed are more like co-leaders who take turns steering the ship depending on the situation. If there's a science problem, Reed is in charge. If there's a people problem, Sue tags in because Reed isn't great with people. So Reed is the brain and Sue is the heart. And Vanessa Kirby is really good in this role. For the record, I thought her performance was the best of the four. So I know a lot's been said about her, but you don't have to worry about Sue. You really don't. Yes, she is the one who does at the end, but Reed, Johnny, and Ben are there doing things too, and couldn't get done without all four of them working together. So Sue is one of the lead characters, but they're still a team, and they win as a team. Pedro Pascal. Oh boy. Look, is he who I would have cast as Reed? No. Were there better choices for Reed? Yes. Is Pedro overexposed right now? Abso-fucking-lutely. He's fine. He doesn't embody the character like Robert Downey Jr. or Charlie Cox, but he's a versatile actor and he does everything he needs to do here. He's not a perfect fit for the character, but he's not bad. He does well in the movie. And Reed doesn't get cucked. He's out in front making the big calls and coming up with the plans to save everybody. There may be moments when Sue will win an argument they're having, but I mean, she's his wife. Who among us is gonna win that fight 10 times out of 10? Now, Reed does have a couple boneheaded moments, one especially that made me facepalm, where he's telling the media what happened when they met Galactus. I was like, Jesus Christ, dude, don't tell him that! But I chalked that up to Reed being kind of socially inept, which isn't exactly out of character for him. Overall, though, Reed is okay. And you know something? Kind of cool to have our two leads being a loving, wholesome married couple. They don't have any stupid nonsense or dysfunctions. They're just married, and they love each other, and they're happy together. Isn't that a novel idea? Joseph Quinn as Johnny? The character is an awkward fit on him at times, but he does what he has to. I think the issue with Johnny is that the things this character is kind of famous for, the movie doesn't focus on. Like him being fun-loving, girl-crazy, all that stuff. It's mentioned a couple times, but they don't emphasize it. Although, I think Quinn might have misspoke in this interview I talked about a while ago, because Johnny is still a dick in this movie, at least. He's a kinder, gentler dick, but he's a dick, like he's supposed to be. Thank you. The thing is, I wouldn't say Johnny gets an arc, exactly. He plays a pivotal role, he just doesn't really change as a person. More like he solves a big problem at a critical moment when nobody else can. It's not really an arc, but he doesn't get neglected. And he's written smarter than I expected too. I thought they were gonna make Johnny the boneheaded comic relief, but he's no dummy. They give him more respect than I figured they would. Ben is probably the character the movie does the least with. He gets his own story, it's just kind of abbreviated. Ebon Moss-Bachrach is fine, the voice is wrong, but the issue isn't with his performance. It's the same as with Johnny. The stuff Ben Grimm is really known for just isn't played up. What bugged me about the Thing is he's too well-adjusted. He isn't gruff enough. When we meet him, he's already kind of resigned to being stuck in this big rocky body. He's not happy about it, it's something he has to deal with, but if he ever resented Reed for him being turned into the Thing because Reed screwed up, he's already past that. Reed isn't, he still feels guilty, but Ben has kind of reached the reluctant acceptance stage, and that's a pretty huge aspect of his character to just skip over. So if there's an issue with the Thing, I think it's that one of the juicier parts of his arc was already finished before the movie began. Silver Surf her? Surprise, surprise, the gender swapping was f***ing dumb. And the thing is, if you kept the character exactly as written and just made it Norin Rad instead of Shalabal, you've got the real Silver Surfer. So changing him was completely pointless. But Marvel just can't help themselves with this shit sometimes. To be fair, I like Julia Garner's performance. There's a detached alien quality to her that comes across well. She seems to really get the character. The character's just supposed to be a f***ing man. So take Marvel's stupidity out of the equation and she does a good job. If there's a problem with the character, you can't really fault the actress. And Ralph Ineson as Galactus is great. He's frightening, he has gravitas, not played as good or evil, just a force of nature that destroys everything in his path. He really makes the most of his admittedly limited screen time. I do think Galactus loses something in the climax when he becomes more of a prototypical kaiju, and the more I think about it, the more I think he was defeated too easily, but when we see him in space, they f***ing nailed it. Galactus looks awesome. He's not some stupid fart cloud, he's right out of the comics. But the real star of this movie is the world it takes place in. I still don't understand this choice to stage the movie on a different Earth and doing this whole 1960s retro futuristic motif. It's weird, I think they overthought the whole thing, but I give credit where it's due. They worked their asses off to sell this concept, and I thought they did everything they possibly could to make it cool and charming and fun. There's so much attention to detail here in the world building, the set design, even little things like wardrobe and TV graphics on a news broadcast. The design team went the extra mile here. They absolutely committed to the bit. Visually, it really is unlike anything else in the MCU, and you can tell they put a ton of thought into how this world works, how it looks, how the technology is different from the Tekken 616, how it's somehow both old-fashioned and more advanced at the same time. Like, you get the sense that Reed's brain would short circuit if you showed him an iPhone, but he also invented a spaceship with an FTL drive that can travel to the other side of the galaxy in minutes. They're still listening to music on vinyl, but Reed has teleporting tech. It's a really f***ing strange balancing act, but for the most part, it works. There was never a time when I called bullshit on any of this stuff. It all makes sense in the context of this world. Plus, and this was something I hadn't considered until now, the movie taking place on a different Earth means it's self-contained, so there's no homework. There's no other stuff you need to watch to understand this. Now, apparently Disney did put out a list of things to watch to prepare for this movie or whatever. That's bullshit. You don't need to watch any of that stuff. The multiverse is a thing, and this is on a different Earth. That's all you need to know. And honestly, there's something freeing about that. The MCU has become very continuity heavy, and big chunks of that continuity are kind of a mess. I mean, when you have to watch hours and hours of other stuff just to know who all the characters are in a f***ing movie, and you watch it all, and then the movie still doesn't make sense, I'm looking at you. It's time to streamline things. Every MCU project comes with homework now, and it's just f***ing tiresome. But First Steps doesn't connect to anything else in the MCU. It will soon, but not yet. So you can go in cold, knowing nothing about this universe or what came before, and just have fun with it. That was refreshing. It kind of harkened back to Phase 1 when everything in this universe still had that new car smell. I appreciated that. Also, I appreciated that the movie has a real love for the source material. This whole film is basically a love letter to the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby era comics. Now, if that era isn't for you, so be it, but it is where this franchise comes from. And there are so many shots and sequences that are lifted right out of those books. In fact, the movie begins with this big newsreel style montage that speed runs through a lot of those classic stories. This is from when the Fantastic Four fought the Mole Man and the Puppet Master and all these other villains, and you see them fighting in sequences that ape the covers of the 1960s comics. So much attention to detail here. Now, where it's lacking in detail a little bit is the story. Certain things that you'd think would be important here are kind of glossed over, and I don't know why. Like the Fantastic Four's origin, where they're transformed by the cosmic rays, just gets narrated to us and we never see it. I didn't get that at all. I mean, we've seen it done before in other movies, yeah, but we've never seen it done well, so that was a strange omission. As cool as Galactus looks, we never learn much about what he actually is. Hungry space god. Okay, how do we fight him? That's about the gist of it. I wanted to spend more time on the hungry space god thing. Can we get more information, please, movie? We can't? Oh. Wow, that kind of sucks. There seems to have been a subplot with Sue and Mole Man that didn't make the final cut, and Mole Man is still in there, but he's just a plot device now. That part's pretty dumb, actually. Also, you can tell the climax was rejiggered a lot because Galactus gets weirdly nerfed in the final moments, and there's a twist with Silver Surf Her that's very abrupt and is not fleshed out much at all. Didn't feel like they earned that one. But I think it still works, in large part because it's not played for comedy. In fact, Marvel's trademark humor is dialed back a lot in this movie, and I can't even tell you what a difference that makes. The climax gets pretty heavy, actually. They're going for drama rather than laughs for once, and god damn it, that was a nice change. More stuff like that, Marvel, if you don't mind. Although, the climax does set up Baby Franklin as another one of those walking Deus Ex Machinas the MCU already has too many of that the writers are gonna have to be really careful about in the future. Yeah, Franklin's like that in the comics too, but once he does what he does here, it's gonna be really difficult to write around that the next time they need to create dramatic stakes. And I'm not sure how you put that genie back in the bottle. Overall though, I think Fantastic Four First Steps is a check in the win column. We'll see how it does at the box office, but it feels like Marvel pulled their heads out of their asses with this one. It's not perfect, it's shaky in some areas, but it's a definite step up from what they've been delivering for the last few years. It was shades of MCU Phase 1 here, where they didn't make things overly complicated or stupid or political. They just told a fun sci-fi adventure story about a family, and the result is the Fantastic Four finally caught a break. I won't say it's the best Fantastic Four movie ever, that's still The Incredibles, but is it the best treatment they've gotten in live action? Oh, hell yeah. It might not be what some of you wanted to hear, but it. Fantastic Four First Steps is a good movie. Just tweak your advertising and get some better trailers, Marvel, and maybe people will be a little more willing to believe that next time. Thanks so much for watching. While you're here, ding that bell icon and follow all of my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. The links are down there. And YouTube just made it a lot harder to get engagement on these videos. Views don't count anymore unless you're interactive. So if you want to support the channel, it's more important than ever for you to do all the other YouTube things. Hit that like button. Leave a comment, share the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and people are getting unsubbed without their knowledge all the time, so make sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to be devoured by a hungry space god is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. I'll be back with more soon. Take care, stay tuned. I'll see you next time.